We're not talking about actors. We mean a real monster.
I brought her back. She'll live and I'll get her another body.
I know they're gonna kiss me, but don't let anyone see me like that. Please, Doctor, help me!
Biologically speaking, it's of primary importance that man should want to mate. Hey, that's...
You don't get all your kicks from surfing, do you?
We want to be free to ride our machines without being hassled by the man. And we want to get loaded.
You think you're gonna make a slave of the world? I'll see you in hell first!
The American International Podcast.
Are you ready?
This is the American International Podcast. I am Cheryl Lightfoot.
And I am Jeff Merkin.
And in this episode, we're going to remain glued to our television screens, this time for another Larry Buchanan remake of an AIP classic sci-fi film. It's Creature of Destruction from 1967.
Creature of Destruction was written by Enrique Touceda and produced and directed by Larry Buchanan for Azalea Pictures.
Creature of Destruction stars Tremayne as Dr. John Basso, Pat Delany as Doreena, Aron Kincaid as Captain Theodore Dell, Neil Fletcher as Sam Crane, Annabelle Wienick as Mrs. Crane, Roger Reddy as Lieutenant Blake.
Also appearing are Ron Scott as a policeman, Suzanne Roy as Lynn Crane, Byron Lord as the investigating psychiatrist and the creature, Barnett Shaw as the other investigating psychiatrist, and Scotty McKay as himself,
the singer. Creature of Destruction opens with a fish-eye view of the lakeshore. Then we see some exterior shots around a lodge. A guy in a fakey rubber monster costume lurches through the woods as the credits roll. He lurks outside a cabin, and then we see an on-screen quote.
"There is no monster in the world so treacherous as man," and this is attributed to Montaigne. There's a sign on the beach, posted by the police department, saying that it's closed and stay off, but not paying any attention to the sign is a man in top hat and tails. This is Dr. John Basso.
He's also got a cape on. He's obviously ready for a swim. As he stands there, we see the creature sideways walking down the beach. The creature comes up to the tree line, and Dr. Basso goes towards the boathouse. The creature also ends up in the boathouse eventually. You have to watch it walk for a little while longer.
Also in the boathouse, looking very concerned, is Sam Crane.
This is a bit of a spoiler.
He gets into a boat and tries to power it on, but it's not working. Then the creature comes upon him and starts mauling him.
And Crane falls to the floor of the boat. But don't feel too bad, because we're going to see him again real soon. Now we're at a members-only dinner at a country club. We see a sign promoting Dr. John Basso, author, lecturer, who will teach us the mysteries of the occult world in a seance tonight.
Affixed to the sign is an 8x10 glossy of a smiling Tremayne with a top hat and a cane.
I recognize that guy. He was just on the beach.
The presentation begins and Dr. Basso takes the stage. In a chair sits his assistant, Doreena.
Beautiful, but mute and expressionless.
The audience applauds, and Dr. Basso begins his lecture.
Inside every human is the capacity to love, but also to destroy, to become a mad, unreasoning killer. And he's going to take us away from millions of years of civilization, back to the animalistic monster that lies inside each of us.
And now, as is his custom, Dr. Basso comes to the final prognostication. Dr. Basso predicts, and this brings much applause from the audience.
It's trademarked. Don't try and steal it. Apparently, he's reading the mind of the mute, expressionless woman sitting next to him. He tells the captive audience that on this very night, at this very time, on the shores of this very lake, there'll be a murder. And then there's a round of applause as a man in uniform enters the dining room.
This is Captain Theodore Ted Dell, and he walks across the room, and we cut away. And now we're poolside where Scotty McKay is performing a song, Grits Ain't Groceries, while kids dance arrhythmically near the poolside.
Ted comes out onto a balcony and calls down to one of the dancers asking for her sister. "Right behind you," she squawks as another young woman follows him out the door. He kisses her on the cheek as she lightly scolds him for ditching her at the seance. This is Lynn Crane. Ted says that he was scared of the tycoons in attendance at the lecture, her father included.
Lynn asks if he would prefer to go somewhere else, and that sounds like a good idea to Ted.
Yeah, he takes credit for her good idea, though. I don't like this guy.
And now Scotty McKay is singing a song about Batman as the kids continue to try to dance.
The Batman TV show came out a year before this movie was filmed. So there's probably lots of songs about Batman. We just haven't heard them yet.
Now we're in the Crane's living room where Sam and the missus are convening after the party.
It's nice to see him up and around again after he got killed in the beginning of the movie.
Dr. Basso had predicted something was going to happen tonight, and she's worried. Sam just laughs. That demonstration was just an act, a performance for the amusement of their members. Nothing to get excited about. Mrs. Crane says that Dr. Basso had a girl revert to a former life, and Sam wasn't impressed at all. Nope, laughed Sam. So that grabby little man finally let you go, quips Mrs. Crane. But Sam replies that the man has a portfolio worth $1 million, and Sam's always looking for investors. He asks where Lynn and Ted ran off to. Mrs. Crane says they went for a walk along the beach, and she wishes that they hadn't.
You heard what Dr. Basso said, Mrs. Crane tells her husband, but Mr. Crane doesn't take Basso's act seriously, like Mrs. Crane does.
Dr. Basso had predicted something was going to happen tonight, and she's worried. Sam just laughs. That demonstration was just an act, a performance for the amusement of their members. Nothing to get excited about. Mrs. Crane says that Dr. Basso had a girl revert to a former life, and Sam wasn't impressed at all. Nope, laughs Sam. She asks if he knows what happened to Dr. Basso. He must have gone up in a cloud of smoke, he laughs.
But we see Basso in the next scene on the beach again in full magician regalia. Ted and Lynn are also on the beach. Lynn is telling Ted about Dr. Basso, who he's just now heard about for the first time, it seems, even though we saw him walk through the hall where Basso was giving his lecture. But Ted does know of Dr. Basso, and Lynn also describes his act of regressing a woman to her former life. We've heard them talk about it, but we didn't get to see any of it.
As they're walking, they approach the cottage we saw in the beginning of the movie, and they hear a scream. Wait here, says Ted, as he rushes off toward the house. We see Dr. Basso in silhouette, watching from the distance. Ted goes into the house, and the room is in shambles. Lamps are knocked over, and drawers are flung open, their contents strewn about. A man sits awkwardly on the bed. Ted reaches for him, and the man falls to the floor.
He looks around, and on the other side of the room, there's a dead woman lying on the floor. Ted leaves the room and calls for Lynn. He asks her who lives there, and she says it's the honeymoon cottage. Oh.
Ted tells her to go and call the police and have them meet Ted here. Lynn stands there dumbfounded for a moment and then scampers off.
She looks like Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone.
Nearby, Dr. Basso smiles.
And now Detective Blake and his partner and Sam Crane are at the crime scene. The lead detective is Blake, and he describes the dead man as being broken in two, like he was hit with a pile driver. This does not track. The man was sitting straight up like nothing was wrong with him. He also says that the woman was battered similarly.
The man still had his wallet on him with $120 in it, so robbery wasn't the motive here. There's some seaweed on the floor, and part of the floor is damp, so they get some powder and dust it down to reveal a webbed footprint. You think a man made this? Asks one of the detectives. Lieutenant Blake says he believes a clever man could have forged it.
They decided they need to call the lab boys in. The other cop says that the thing that did this might come back, but Blake scoffs and leads Sam Crane out of the room. They go to his house where he asks about the couple. Sam says they seem like nice kids. Now they're dead.
Mrs. Crane offers that Dr. Basso predicted this was going to happen, and Lieutenant Blake supposes he'd better have a talk with Dr. Basso. Ted is there too, and he stands up and reminds the lieutenant that he was the one who found the bodies, and adds that as a psychiatrist, he knows that anyone that could have torn those bodies apart like that had to have a very special problem.
Blake all but yells, "Duh," and says, "Tell me something new, doctor. What does Ted the psychiatrist think of this Dr. Basso?" Ted thinks anything is possible. As a scientist, he keeps an open mind.
The lieutenant can't argue with this logic, so he agrees.
And then he leaves.
Where he's headed is cabin 47, which is the one being rented by Dr. Basso. Dr. Basso is talking to Doreena, who is sitting in her chair, asleep.
He says he will touch her, and then she'll be young and beautiful again. But before he can lay a paw on her, there's a knock at the door. Dr. Basso closes the door to Doreena's chamber and goes out into the living room, where Lieutenant Blake is waiting to talk to him.
Lieutenant Blake tells Basso that a couple was murdered in the honeymoon cottage. What has that got to do with me? Inquires Dr. Basso. You predicted something like this might happen, Blake informs him. Basso admits he had a premonition earlier tonight. Blake says that Mrs. Crane mentioned he had said something about a monster. Yes, says Basso. I knew she would come tonight. A huge, indestructible creature that comes out of the beginning of time. It will strike again and again. Yeah, sure, scoffs Lieutenant Blake, and Dr. Basso glares at him.
Basso says that he feels her presence even now, and he's the only one that can hear her. Lieutenant Blake thinks that this is all hooey, and Basso says that he can think whenever he likes, but that she will come again. Blake wants to know when, but Basso doesn't know. Lieutenant Blake sarcastically says that he's been a lot of help and leaves.
Basso returns to the other room where he left Doreena, and he awakens her from her trance. What time is it? She asks. After midnight, replies Basso. You put me into deep hypnosis, and I've asked you not to do that. You needed your rest, Basso replies.
She wants to get away from here and away from him. He tells her that she will never leave him. She cannot. She says, someday I will. He tells her don't say that. She's important to his work and to him as a man, and soon they will be rich and her hate will turn to love. Yuck.
She tries to get up, and then he puts her back into a trance and tells her that she will never leave him. Something inside her makes her need him. She says she understands. She was nothing before he found her. He tells her to listen closely. There was an accident tonight, here in Tanglewood.
I would be mad if I had to sleep sitting up all the time. It looks so uncomfortable. Now it's morning. Ted is in the Cranes' living room, and Sam walks in, and the two discuss the murders. Ted doesn't think the detectives have come up with anything yet. Sam says some folks think that Basso had something to do with the crime. Ted asks, "Do you think that?" Sam chuckles. Of course he doesn't.
But he would like to know Ted's opinion on this. And Ted replies that research has proven that some people can predict the future. Precognition, they call it. Sam says if that's the case, then maybe Basso's got it. He pulls out a newspaper and shows the headline to Ted.
Crane says Ted is brilliant in his field, psychic research, that he was a psychiatrist. Ted modestly says that his job is to try to explain the unexplained. Crane says that he judges men by the size of their bank accounts. Ted says he wouldn't rate too highly on that scale, but Crane says he knows $1 million idea when he sees one. And then he makes Ted read the part of the news story about the murders that concerns Dr. Basso's prediction.
Sam says he smells money in this, and Ted can have it as a wedding present. Ted isn't interested, but Sam sees a big promotional scheme they can pull off together, with Ted's influence as a well-respected parapsychologist and Sam's business scheming know-how.
They'll make Dr. Basso a household name. Books, syndicated columns, lectures, TV shows, they'll manage him. Ted can give him the stamp of authenticity, noted psychologist that he is. Well, is he a parapsychologist, a psychiatrist, or a psychologist? This guy's got 4 job titles at least.
Sam insists that the public is clamoring for this sort of thing. His wife and her friends are living proof of that, but Ted has been trained to disprove this sort of thing, not endorse it. Then Sam gets serious. His daughter is going to need money, and Sam has no intention of supporting her and her husband. So Sam suggests that Ted go see Basso's act tonight. Then he could take the opportunity to think over Sam's proposal. Ted seems a little surprised that there will even be a show tonight after last night's events, and he leaves the room to ponder this.
Now alone, Sam chuckles and says, "Brilliant, just brilliant," about his own idea. And now we're somewhere else on the grounds, I think. Detective Blake and his partner are having breakfast. The partner reads the coroner's report as a waiter placidly fills their coffee cups. The cause of death was strangulation, but the victim was also torn apart, as if by a steel hook, and there was the imprint of a talon on the back of the victim's neck. The waiter has no response to this.
Lieutenant Blake says there were no signs that anybody was in the room, aside for the overturned furniture, the seaweed, the strange footprints, and the dead bodies.
And the sand and seawater strewn about the room. So it seems like somebody was in there. Not the brightest cops in the land. Blake won't let his partner say that something supernatural is to blame. This isn't science fiction, he says, shaking his head.
Now Sam Crane is going to pay a visit to Dr. Basso to present him with his business proposal. Sam knocks and Basso tells him to enter. Entree, actually. Sam asks Basso about his act, but then stops him from explaining it, telling Basso to save that for the paying guests.
Basso is wearing a blue dressing gown over his dress shirt and tie. Kind of like heftier, but in blue. Crane asks Basso how long he's been in this racket. Basso clocks Crane as a non-believer, but assures him that he is in communication with the other side. So Crane asks Basso to guess why he's there, and Basso, the great deducer, says that this is about business. So impressive. And it's true.
Sam asks Basso how would he like to be a very rich man. Basso says that he would like that very much. Sam tells Basso that he's got something he can sell. People will pay top dollar for his act. I have no act, says Basso. I have knowledge.
Crane says, good. You said that with a straight face.
Then Sam continues. All Basso has to do is go on with what he's been doing, but add some more of those predictions so that his reputation grows. Sam is willing to back Basso financially until things start rolling.
And then after that, it'll be a 50-50 split, and they shake on it. Crane says that the deal starts now. He's having some very important people over to see his act tonight. Oh, and Dr. Ted will be there too.
The Air Force psychologist inquires Basso. Sam says Ted is a national hero, and an endorsement from him will get them moving in the right direction.
Crane wants Basso to really put on a show tonight. Give them more predictions, another murder. Basso demonstrates that right now for Sam. But to Sam, it's just a preview of his act. Basso says in his hands lies the power, given to no other man.
Basso gets thoughtful and mumbles that there may very well be another murder tonight. That's the spirit, says Sam.
And then Crane says he'll have the papers drawn up right away, but the contract will be with his daughter. It's a surprise wedding gift for her.
Sam tells Basso to come early tonight if he needs to prepare any gadgets. Gadgets? I don't need no stinking gadgets, sneers Basso. Sam says he doesn't care what Basso does, as long as he shakes him up tonight.
Sam goes, and Basso rushes to Doreena. He wakes her with the news that a door is open for them, and they will go through it together. She just looks dazed. And now it's nighttime, put that in air quotes because we are never shooting at night here. We're inside the lodge, where Doreena and Basso are getting ready for the show tonight. Ted and Lieutenant Blake are in the audience, sitting with Lynn and the other cranes.
As Ted lights a cigarette, he notices Dr. Basso enter with his assistant, and he asks Blake about her. Blake explains who she is. She's beautiful, says Ted, and Blake nods in agreement. And now it's showtime, and Sam takes the stage to introduce Dr. Basso.
Basso stands next to Doreena, who's sitting dazed on a throne. He gets started by saying that he's found the perfect subject for his hypnotism, and tonight he'll reveal the secret of life. He sends Doreena back through time and space, out of her present body, back 300 years.
From his table, Ted says she's trying to resist him. What? asks Blake. But they're shushed by a woman at the next table. Basso announces to the crowd that tonight they will see what it is he does that has earned him the title of a fraud and a charlatan. He says they are fortunate enough to have with them Captain Dell, whose work is well known in the field of combat psychosis. Dr. Dell represents the School of Applied Psychology, which have been some of Basso's staunchest critics, and Basso invites Ted to come up on the stage, but Ted declines. Basso seems a little taken aback, but Ted does eventually go up on stage at Sam's beckoning.
Basso announces that he will now prove that life is one unbroken chain. We have been given perpetual life, he says. He'll take Doreena, ordinary American girl, back 300 years to her former self, Marion Rhodes. Basso tells Doreena that Ted will ask her some questions. She should answer them truthfully.
He first asks where she was born, and she replies Chicago. Did your parents or grandparents ever live in England? No. Have you ever been to England? No. Have you ever been especially interested in English literature or history? Heck no.
Bit of a dummy. Thus vetted, Basso sends Doreena back in time and through space. She becomes Marion and begins talking in an English accent about who and where she is. Then Basso tells her that she'll hear another voice and that she should answer that voice directly.
And Basso again invites Ted to question her. Who is your reigning monarch, he asks. James, she replies. Is he a beloved monarch? No. Hated. Feared. Then he asks her some historically tricky questions.
He wants to know who was Frances Howard and why she was granted a divorce. Apparently, she was infested by witches.
Ted is impressed, but not thoroughly convinced, and he goes back to his table.
The crowd claps as Basso says that he's shown them one phase of his work. Doreena/Marion has given them names and dates that can be verified. And then he declares the demonstration over as Marion/Doreena tips forward in her chair. At his table, Ted looks mildly concerned.
They're still watching the stage as Dr. Basso waves his hand over Doreena's face and she slumps back in her chair. Then Basso places his hands to his temples. I am being informed that the creature that visited the beach house will return again tonight. Then he apologizes, saying that his assistant is very tired and needs rest. He helps her to stand and walks her out as the assembled crowd stands and exits as well. What a stupid show.
What a short show for the money that they must have paid. Ted doesn't leave with the others, though. He follows Dr. Basso, or actually he's probably following Doreena. She's being pulled away. And Lynn sees her fiancé's interest in another woman and does not follow him.
Basso asks Ted what he thought of the performance. Ted says he can't really say, but he'd like to borrow Basso's assistant to get her side of the story. Basso says that will be fine.
It's checking her out like she's a book at the library. And now, this is a strange scene. Now we're on the beach where some people are gathered around, waiting for something. And what they're waiting for is Scotty McKay, who bikes up to the group, jumps off his motorcycle, grabs a guitar, and starts singing that he doesn't feel at home in this world of lonely people. Same dude.
Before long, the music is more than the kids can stand, and they all get up and dance. It's not really a dancing song, though. Then Scotty suddenly stops playing, throws his guitar into the crowd, climbs back on his bike, and rides off.
And now I guess the point of this scene becomes evident because the creature follows him at a leisurely pace. When Scotty stops, apparently for bike trouble, the creature catches up to him and slaps him to death. It did. It was a slap fight.
I know. One of the girls who had been dancing comes over a hill and sees Scotty sprawled out on the ground, and she motions for the others.
But we don't know how much time has passed because they go to a full, like they fade out of the first scene and come back up from black for this scene. Now we're with Detective Blake at Basso's cabin. Blake shows Basso a sketch with details of Scotty's assailant provided by one of the boys on the beach. Basso takes a look at it, and then we do. It's the very likeness of the creature, but rendered much better.
Blake, looking at the picture, isn't sure what they saw, but it certainly can't be this thing depicted on the drawing. They must have heard a sound associated with a patch of fog.
He has a better explanation. That boy saw the soul of a living woman transmigrated to her earliest form. Yeah, Blake says, from 1,000,000 years ago. Perhaps more, says Basso. Just because you haven't seen it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Blake says it only exists in Basso's imagination.
Basso was a little offended that Blake is so quick to dismiss the possibility that such a creature might exist. Blake tells Basso he's this close to being brought in. On what charge, asks Basso, for having an understanding of and being in touch with the occult? Then he tells Blake that he has a very busy schedule these days, so he'll have to excuse him.
Can you just do that to cops? You can go now.
So Blake leaves, and Basso looks out the window to see Doreena sitting outside.
He heads out to the patio and berates Doreena for going outside alone. Doreena begs Basso to let her go and find another girl to torture. She will go quietly and won't tell anyone his secret. Basso says that there's only her. She'll do as he says. And he tells her to sleep. He wants her to rest and once again implores her to do exactly what he tells her to.
He also tells her that Captain Dell will be coming to ask her questions, and she must resist him.
He'll even try to hypnotize her.
He tells her that Captain Dell is trying to destroy them, and her beauty must not be destroyed.
It belongs to him to do with as he wishes.
And she must love him as much as he loves her.
This is so gross. Now he has to go, but he implores her to remember what he said.
And just as he leaves, Ted arrives. Ted starts making small talk, and Doreena tells him that he won't be able to hypnotize her.
Well, he's whining about the heat and says that this is hardly a good spot for that. But she tells him that he can't hypnotize her. Ted says he knows that Doreena's been instructed to resist him, but that he's here to help her. She's been in the shadow of Basso for too long. Just ask your questions, she says robotically.
Now, Dr. Basso is meeting with Sam in Sam's office. Sam announces that their book is going to the printer, and the Marion Rose story is going to be serialized in newspapers across the country. How's that for a quick profit? It sounds so good to Basso that he wants to renegotiate their contract to a 60-40 split in Basso's favor.
Crane is against this idea, but then thinks better of it and says that they can come to some understanding. Basso then tells Crane to tell his family to stay off the beach. Crane tells Basso to not press his luck with these predictions. One wrong prediction and their profits will nosedive.
But Dr. Basso is certain their good fortune will continue. And now Dr. Basso heads out to the beach, so he dons his top hat and tails for the excursion. The sign saying that the beach is closed is now up. And as Dr. Basso watches, a car with an amorous young couple pulls up near the water.
They're there to net, but the master's there too and finds they're a convertible and attacks the couple.
It howls, making a sound that is kind of a mixture of a cow and a pig. The kids jump out of the car, but the creature of destruction lunges at them. Watching from the top of the hill, Dr. Basso turns and leaves.
Later, we hear sirens wailing as an ambulance carries the bodies away.
Lieutenant Blake says he's sure that Basso was involved in this. He doesn't know exactly how, but somehow Basso is responsible.
Now we're back with Ted and Doreena, and he's grilling her about her involvement in the murders. Doreena doesn't remember anything, but she tells Ted that she feels like she could kill. Ted says most of us feel that way, but that's not what Doreena means. Ted says that Doreena must be weaned away from Basso, and that it'll take time, like getting rid of an infectious disease.
Doreena says she thinks Ted is wasting his time on her. Am I? He asks. Then Lieutenant Blake arrives and joins them at their table. He asks Ted if he's heard about the kids who were killed tonight. And Ted has.
Blake says the whole town is in an uproar and he's stymied. 5 innocent people killed and not a sign of a human perpetrator. Blake tells Doreena that he knows Basso is behind this. Ted asks if he has proof, and Blake admits that he doesn't have anything.
He just knows that Basso hates the whole world and everyone in it, and he would set a match to it if he could.
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Blake would like Ted to conduct a clinical examination of Basso, but Ted says that's impossible. Parapsychology is in its infancy. They don't prove or disprove, they simply observe.
This could turn into a big old carnival, and that's what Basso wants, Ted says. Blake says he could subpoena Ted, and Ted tells him to talk to his commanding officer. Blake said he's already done that, and he's talked to Basso, and Basso wants to do it. The rest is up to you, says Blake.
And now Sam is visiting Basso in his cabin. Sam is not happy with the contract renegotiation that went down yesterday, but nonetheless he has the new contracts in hand.
Crane tells Basso that he's not happy with that business from last night. Those deaths were a coincidence, right? Basso asks Crane if he wants it to be a coincidence, and Crane does. You'll never believe, says Basso.
Basso asks Sam if he has the revised contract, and Sam pulls it out of his briefcase. Basso is pleased, but Sam tells him not to get any ideas for further changes to their agreement. Then he tells Basso that he's going to be investigated this afternoon by some head shrinkers. Basso thinks this is a good thing. They can give him the official recognition he desires. But Sam tells him that these are real doctors, not a bunch of hysterical women. Basso stands angrily. I am a real doctor, he says. Sam says all he sees is a fortune teller with delusions of grandeur. You shouldn't have said that, says Basso. Sam supposes he shouldn't have and apologizes for blowing up like that. It makes no difference, says Basso. Sam gets up to leave, but then turns to tell Basso that he has some television people coming in this evening. and he'll see what he can do about getting him a network spot.
This movie and Matilda make it seem like it's just so easy to get on network TV at the last minute. Like you just ask somebody at ABC and they're going to throw you on the air. I don't think it works that way. Anyway, now it's demonstration time. Basso is hypnotizing Doreena for the expert parapsychologist's benefit. Ted tells the men gathered, which includes Lieutenant Blake, that he sent a cable to England to verify Marion's story. And there was a tombstone with Marion Rhodes' name on it. But she didn't get married. Like I thought she was a young girl and then later got married.
Well, somebody's supposed to ask for her hand in marriage that very day.
Well, anyway, the other movie did it better. Lieutenant Blake says that that tombstone could have been planted. And one of the doctors says that the details could have been rehearsed.
And if that's the case, all Basso has is a vaudeville act. That's very flattering, says Basso flatly.
He asks if anyone could have so rehearsed the details of a life in 17th century England.
Her speech, her mannerisms? Yes.
Yes, of course. Someone did do that for this movie. Oh my God. Another doctor asks if Doreena could have read it somewhere, but Basso says she's just a high school dropout, so no. This movie is so dumb. Basso confirms this assertion with Lieutenant Blake, who I guess looked into Doreena's past.
So the investigators ask Ted's opinion. He says his mind is open. Basso insists he took Doreena back to a life she led 300 years before, and he can take her back to the creation of her soul if he wanted to. Can you materialize her into a maniac that goes around the beach killing? Asked Lieutenant Blake.
Oh, he's so close.
Was that supposed to be a joke? Basso inquires. It didn't sound like a joke, says Blake. He wants answers.
Ted says that this is a scientific exam, not a courtroom. One of the doctors tells Basso that he doesn't feel that they can accomplish anything else here. Basso says that he used to want their approval, but not anymore. The other doctor says that this demonstration was impressive, but meaningless, and the two bid him a good day.
They excuse themselves, and Blake and Ted follow them out the door.
Back at Crane's, Ted tells Sam that what he says about Basso still goes, but it's just an opinion, argues Sam. Ted claims it's one of the best opinions around. What is he talking about?
He's trying to convince Sam to end his business relationship with Basso. That guy's trouble. Then Lynn walks in. Good evening, stranger, she greets Ted. That was so weird.
It's less weird than what happens next, though. Crane asks Lynn's opinion about dissolving their business arrangement. He says they'll make $1 million, a nice nest egg for the two of you. Lynn says nothing.
Thanks for the offer, sneers Ted. I'm sure I'll never have another one like it. He leaves, and Sam tries to comfort his heartbroken daughter.
He asks his daughter what's gotten into that boy, but Lynn still has nothing to say as her father tries to comfort her. Looks like the screenwriter is just allergic to giving lines to women. More about that later.
Good evening, stranger. The way she said it was just odd, and then she's just kind of like this ghostly look on her face.
Women are just mannequins in this movie.
Now we're outside the country club, and Basso was telling Doreena that they will be leaving the country tomorrow. I'm not going, she says. I'm staying with Ted. She says she's found the strength to resist him. Ted's given it to her. Basso says if he wasn't confident in the love they have for each other, he'd forbid her from seeing Dr. Dell. She is his, and no one will ever take her away from him.
Sam Crane shows up to introduce Basso to some very important people. They leave Doreena alone, and Ted sidles up to her for a pep talk. She has a glazed look on her face as he tells her that she has the power within her to resist Basso. They can fight them together. If she can resist Basso publicly, he'll have to let her go. And then he tries to get through to her by saying, "It's Ted. Ted!" Ted wants her to be free, etc., etc. When Basso speaks to Doreena, Ted's thoughts will join her own. But just then, Basso returns to collect his mannequin. It's time to begin the show.
Sam stands to introduce Dr. Basso to the assembled crowd, and Basso tells the audience that the purpose of his demonstrations are to educate. Then he tries to put Doreena into a deeper state of sleep, but she is resisting. Basso apologizes to the audience, telling them that his assistant isn't herself tonight. Again, he tells Doreena to relax, and then announces that he will try again. You want to sleep. You're very tired. Your eyes are very heavy. You are falling into a deep sleep.
While this is happening, Ted at his table stares dumbly at Doreena. Doreena's gazing at Ted and refusing to answer questions. Crane asks if everything is all right. Lieutenant Blake, also there, asks what this is all about, but doesn't get an answer. On stage, Basso tells the crowd that his subject is disturbed. The world is disturbed, and then he tries to send everyone home.
I feel a menace to the people of this resort. I urge you all to leave Tanglewood and return to your homes.
Don't tip your waiters.
Lieutenant Blake runs up to the stage and tells the crowd to do as Dr. Basso suggests. Everyone should go to their cars, then leave together. There are policemen all along the road so they can travel safely.
Then we see Blake radioing to his men that the convoy is headed to town and will pass their way as everyone is filing out of Tanglewood. Ted does not leave, though. He rushes up to Dr. Basso and tells him to bring Doreena out of her trance. Hasn't this thing gone far enough, he says?
Why don't you do it yourself, asks Basso. You pretend to be the expert. And now we see that Sam has armed himself with a revolver, and he heads out to the boathouse. There are policemen on foot patrolling the roads around the beach.
But the one guard that we're looking at misses the moment that the sea creature exits the water. The creature then sneaks up behind him, puts his claw on his shoulder. But we don't see what happens next. But we do see Lieutenant Blake getting in his car and driving off with his siren wailing. And then we see Crane running to the boathouse as the soundtrack starts wailing.
They're replaying the scene that opened the movie, only this time, he sees the creature and shoots a few times before getting into that boat,
where he is summarily murdered. Why did they put that at the beginning of the movie?
As we saw before, the boat won't start, and the creature attacks him. He tries ringing the boat's bell, but no one is around to hear it.
Next, we're with the police, who are looking at the boathouse. They see the creature coming out of the water, not the boathouse, and they all open fire.
There he is, shouts Blake. Get him! As men open fire upon the creature of destruction. Now we're back with Ted and Doreena, and he's had no luck waking her up. He hears the commotion of the gunfire outside, so he picks her up to physically remove her from Basso's clutches. Put her down, demands Basso. He has a gun, so Ted places Doreena onto a couch. It looks like he was having a difficult time carrying her anyway.
She's not laying down, though. She's sitting there on the couch as Basso berates Ted for coming between him and his assistant. Ted asks, why kill Ted? As of right now, the worst he could be charged with is accessory to murder, but Basso says he gained the satisfaction that the one who shattered his world pays for the offense.
Just then, Doreena comes to and jumps into Ted's arms, and at the same time, Basso pulls the trigger, and Doreena is shot in the back.
As she dies, so does the creature, who's still outside. The creature then vanishes, as if it never existed at all.
Ted lays Doreena's body back onto the couch, and Basso goes to her, telling her that now they will be together, in spirit, again. He kisses her forehead, then shoots himself in the stomach as Ted watches.
With a stupid expression on his face. And then, over a shot of the shimmering lake water, idiot Ted monologues that he'd like to believe that he'd gotten through to her. He'll never know, though. One way or another, she destroyed the creature. She knew that the creature was some sort of physical link to her past. In destroying herself, the creature could not exist.
She searched for freedom and found violence, terror, destruction, greed. Was Basso right? Is there a monster lurking within each of us? Waiting. And then that quote from the beginning of the movie returns. There is no monster in the world so treacherous as man, still attributed to Montaigne.
And that's the end. Welcome back to the American International Podcast, where we're talking about Creature of Destruction from 1967.
A remake of the 1956 film The She Creature, Creature of Destruction was the sixth of Larry Buchanan's remakes of American International films. Known as the Azalea films, these remakes were commissioned by AIP, who were looking for more color movies for their television packages.
The Azalea movies were made on the cheap, which meant Buchanan wasn't able to pay for anything as impressive as Paul Blaisdell's design for the original She Creature. His Gill Monster costume was created by a Dallas advertising executive turned makeup effects artist Jack Bennett. It consisted of an ill-fitting green rubber wetsuit with cheap-looking fangs, fins attached, along with ping-pong ball eyes. Buchanan later reused the costume as the cave-dwelling monster in his 1969 film, It's Alive, which we covered in episode 74 of this podcast.
According to the Rob Craig book, The Films of Larry Buchanan, A Critical Examination, Buchanan's stock actor Byron Lord wore the suit in Creature of Destruction.
Aron Kincaid, who played Ted, had appeared in a number of AIP Beach Party movies. According to Mark McGee in Faster and Furiouser, the revised and Fenton Fable of American International Pictures, Kincaid made the film as part of an out-of-court settlement with AIP. Kincaid had never formally signed his 7-year contract with AIP and was thus denied an expected increase in pay. Kincaid sued for breach of contract, and the terms of the settlement included an appearance in 2 more films, Creature of Destruction being one of them.
According to McGee, Kincaid arrived on set at Tanglewood Country Club on Lake Texoma in Texas and found the crew was completely inebriated, which continued throughout the filming schedule. Kincaid filmed for 2 weeks while doing his own drinking to meet his contractual obligation, then left to return home. Buchanan was upset, as he still had 3 days of scenes for Kincaid to do. He accompanied him in the cab to the airport, recording the rest of his dialogue in the back seat.
Kincaid said in an article published in Scarlet Street magazine in 1993 that, quote, Buchanan was setting up shots 24 hours around the clock in order to bring the project in on time. One night, 80 dressed extras filled the main dining room where we were shooting. I couldn't believe such production values until somebody showed me an ad from the local newspaper heralding a free buffet dinner at the country club to anyone who showed up in fancy clothes. Once they were packed inside, Buchanan literally sealed off the exits until he had completed 4 or 5 hours of incompetent filmmaking. Many of the freeloaders had tried to leave, but they were told they had already been established in the master shots and that they must stay until the bitter end, end quote.
An article in the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, published on April 5, 1967, said Les Tremayne, remembered as one of the actors on radio's old Mr. First Nighter, is in Denison, Texas, filming a TV movie for Larry Buchanan Productions titled Future of Destruction. The science fiction film is being shot at the Tanglewood Hills Country Club, and members have become extras in some scenes.
I couldn't find the actual newspaper ad inviting people to the free buffet, though. In addition to playing one of the Creature of Destruction's victims, Texas rockabilly singer Scotty McKay, real name Max K. Lipscomb, performed 3 songs in the movie, including Here Comes Batman, a tribute to the 1966 TV series. McKay was briefly a member of Gene Vincent's Blue Caps, and while with the band, made an appearance on The Ed Sullivan Show in 1957. This according to the Black Cat Rockabilly website. A month later, McKay left the band to pursue a solo career.
Creature of Destruction was part of AITV's 15 new science fiction movie package and first appeared on television in December of 1968. Some promotional materials for the film titled it Creatures of Destruction, and in some publications, a person called Bill Williams is listed as the lead actor, though no such person appears in the cast list.
And this is just coincidence, but I thought it was interesting. There was a fire near the Tanglewood Hills Country Club filming location in October of 1967. The fire was at the Spring Valley Country Club overlooking Lake Texoma and was discovered by a man named Bill Williams. Like I said, just a coincidence.
In DVD talk, critic David Cornelius called Creature of Destruction an utterly bizarre and amusingly chintzy remake of The She Creature that would almost be interesting if not for Buchanan's directorial incompetence. He described the creature as a $2 fishman costume with ping-pong ball eyes, but noted that Tremayne is the film's saving grace in that he makes a handful of scenes tolerable with his restrained, classy presence.
Writing in AllMovie, Cavitt Binion described the film as an enjoyable, silly outing, adding that it was one of Buchanan's many remakes of cheesy American international monster films, all of which made the original seem positively brilliant by comparison.
Greg Goodsell in Film Facts said in 1993 of Creature of Destruction, the monster, this time a shabby third-removed cousin of the creature from the Black Lagoon, is a modified wetsuit with scissor-cut fins in addition to the ping-pong ball eyes. Creature is full of distinctive Buchanan day-for-night scenes, a blue gel slapped across the camera lens.
In his book, It Came From Hunger, Buchanan disputes Goodsell's claim, saying they did not put on a gel to shoot day for night. He said, quote, "We had no money for special filters. We simply removed the Ratten 85 correction gel and underexposed by 2 full stops. The noonday sun is clearly visible on the car bumpers," end quote.
In 2014, Japanese company Target Earth announced a Creature of Destruction vinyl action figure as part of their Hangyonen Merman series, along with figures for Horror of Party Beach and the Beach Girls and the Monster, which incidentally is part of an AITV package as Monster from the Surf.
Well, I know what I want for my birthday now. I know we've done 5 Larry Buchanan films, but how many of those were remakes of AIP films?
Including this one, it's 5. And 3 of those are remakes. It's Alive and Mars Needs Women were original stories. We previously did Zontar, The Thing from Venus.
And The Eye Creatures.
And this is the 3rd one.
So I'm wondering how we're going to rank this amongst the other, let's just say amongst the other AIP remakes.
Well, you have 3 more to cover in future episodes.
I know.
So we're not done yet.
I know. But we're talking about this one. So was this better than The Eye Creatures and Zontar, or is this worse? Just comparing between these 3 movies.
I think this one's probably worse because I think the story that it's based on is worse than the other 2 stories.
That's true. I did like A Cock in the World and Invasion of the Saucermen much better than The She Creature.
Yeah, those were both A movies for me, and The She Creature, I think, was an I.
A generous I.
And none of the Larry Buchanan films are rating as high as their original counterparts.
No. I didn't expect it to rate that high. I just was hoping it wouldn't be that bad. But I have a lot of problems with this movie. And I thought The She Creature had some definite gaping holes in the logic of the movie. This remake does nothing to fill them. In fact, I think it makes it worse.
It does. They try to tie it up with Ted's voiceover at the end, trying to make sense of what we just saw. And it kind of ties things up. But a lot of what I got from this movie is from having seen The She Creature earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So you tie threads together that really aren't there to be tied in this film.
No, we don't see very much of Basso's act. We hear other people talking about it, but we ourselves don't see very much of it. It was probably excised for time. But I think that's kind of crucial to the movie. I don't want to hear Lynn and her mom talking about what Dr. Basso did. We should be seeing it ourselves. This regression to the former life. It happens one time, it's entirely unconvincing, and yet the entire movie is based on that being believable.
Yeah, there's just a lot of confusing things here. The whole opening scene, which happens at the end of the movie.
Kind of in a different order, maybe. Well, it's shot a little bit different, or there's just a little bit more going on. I don't know. It's not an exact scene for scene version.
No, it's not, because we don't get all the details.
But we see this guy get killed, and then he's in the movie like a minute later with no explanation.
Well, I guess it's a cold open, but there's no warning that that's what's happening here.
We should get a little title card that says 1 week earlier.
Yeah, that would be nice. There's something about watching a Larry Buchanan film that is kind of like the equivalent of walking through mud. Everybody just seems so dry, and it's hard to watch it and keep interest in it because everybody seems to be falling asleep.
I was falling asleep when I was watching it, as you know.
And so was Doreena.
Doreena had nothing to do.
Yeah, it was a pretty thankless role.
All the female roles in this are very thankless. The men in this movie treat the women in this movie like mannequins. They're like ventriloquist dummies. They're speaking for them in almost every instance.
Well, the character of Lynn here, who Ted is engaged to, isn't really a character at all. She's a presence every once in a while, and she doesn't even need to be there.
Well, Ted doesn't see her. Ted doesn't think anything of her. As soon as he sees a pretty girl, he leaves her.
In the original, that character had more to do. There was another guy pursuing her ex-fiance, who was a drunk. And I guess, if I remember correctly, they wound up together. So
I guess in this movie, Lynn can still end up with Ted because Doreena's dead. So they can split that nest egg. Whatever the money they earned from the late unlamented Dr. Basso is theirs.
Well, plus there's probably inheritance because Sam Crane didn't make it.
Oh, that's right. She's got everything. At least once her mom dies. I don't know. This movie is just, it's like a sketch of the she creature, not like the artist sketch of the killer that we saw. It's a very incomplete sketch, just barely drawn. And it requires that you saw the original movie for this to make any sense.
Yeah, I can't imagine trying to piece this together not having seen the she creature first.
But having seen the she creature first, which we both admit wasn't okay, but not a great movie, we have to watch this and compare it and see how much worse this is in comparison.
Maybe if colorization had been available in the 60s, we wouldn't be subjected to these Azalea picture remakes.
Maybe. I just think that it could have been better. And they cheaped out and didn't try that hard.
Well, there's so many things here. We talked about the maybe use of blue gels to make day for night. And you can't tell what time of day it is in any scene from one to another because sometimes the sky is so bright and other times it is kind of dark and you can't tell how much time has passed. Is it the same day? It looks like it's the day later because, oh my gosh, the sun's out now. But no, it's still the night before. And I don't know, there's just so much in this movie. It's so hard to follow.
Oh, we didn't know who people were, though, which is a complaint for many a movie. They don't tell us who the characters are. At least here
it helps to have a low budget, so it has a small cast.
It helps to repeat people's name over and over again, too. But I'm not complaining about that. But Aron Kincaid, boy, I thought that Tommy Kirk was bad in some of the, what was it, Mars Need Women? Did he do another one, too?
He was in It's Alive.
And It's Alive, yeah. I thought he was kind of a dull presence there. Clearly didn't want to be here. But I don't think anyone has ever not wanted to be in a movie more than Aron Kincaid didn't want to be in this movie.
I don't know. John Agar and Zontar might be close.
He seemed to be eating up the scenery, at least.
Did he? I thought he just seemed like he was half asleep. Everybody seems like they're half asleep in these movies.
Yeah, Captain Ted here is really inert. He doesn't really do anything. When Doreena is killed, protecting him, he's just standing there staring at her with no expression on his face. It looks like he doesn't even understand what just happened. And that's basically how he acts throughout the entire movie.
Well, to be fair, I didn't understand what just happened either.
No, I don't know why she had to die in this movie. She didn't die in The She Creature. The creature died, but she survived.
Well, she had to die because Lynn didn't have anybody pursuing her and she couldn't end up alone. That would have been tragic. So
I think
at least
so.
she ends up with Ted for whatever that's worth.
No, that's the tragedy. Lynn, a beautiful, rich heiress, would have had no trouble finding another husband. And somebody less likely to cheat on her and more interesting than Captain Ted Theodore Dell.
She was lacking in personality.
That's because she didn't have any lines. But once freed from a Larry Buchanan script, she could blossom into full, exciting womanhood.
We discovered and never mentioned it, but the soundtrack for this film was lifted from the Eye Creatures.
Yeah, that's what I read. Another money-saving move on Larry Buchanan's part.
There was a lot of aspects of the original film, The She Creature, that wasn't lifted into this film. And one of those was the idea that the creature will follow the same path that it always does. Because in the original, they light a fire in its path to try to catch the creature that way. And this one, it just emerges from the water or they start shooting it. So definitely a lot simpler and easier to film.
I think that was probably the byword of this shoot. Simple and easy to film.
You have basically one location. It's a country club, so it's an expansive location, but you don't have the beach house. You don't have the boardwalk.
Oh, where he did his show. Here he's an invited guest at the country club. There he had his own setup where anybody can go visit. And he lived there too, until he moved in with the host family. I don't think they had the same name in that movie. The sets are so chintzy looking though. It really takes me out of the movie looking at these cheap furnishings and generic bland backgrounds.
Well, they just filmed at this resort, so everything looks like it's filmed in a hotel room.
Yeah, that really bothers me. It doesn't look like anybody lives there. Just people passing through, shooting a scene and leaving. And it has no personality, no character.
Well, I think I kind of got that same impression watching Zontar, the thing from Venus, too.
Yeah.
That sets just didn't look lived in. But if you take something like It's Alive, which took place in that house, that one actually did look like a house, but sparsely furnished.
Right. But, I was thinking of The Room, and when they set up that location, that looked like a real place. I don't think it was.
No, I think it was sets.
But they managed to make it look as if somebody lived in this weird house.
Well, it all comes down to the set design, and I'm sure there was no set designer on the Azalea pictures.
I'm sure there wasn't. It just makes it harder to watch for me. It's so dull. This movie is incredibly dull when it's not angerifying.
Yeah, it's not an interesting watch, is it?
No, it feels almost punitive to have to watch this movie. We've already seen it, the good parts of it, and now we have to watch it, but worse, one more time.
Yeah, and seeing it in color as opposed to black and white doesn't really give you a benefit.
No, not when the color is so washed out and wan and can't tell day from night. I don't know. Everything about this movie makes me mad, but nothing makes me madder than the way they treat Doreena in this movie. Marla English had a much meatier role in The She Creature. Pat Delany is a ventriloquist dummy in this movie. I would say she has maybe 10 lines in the entire film, not counting the part where she's doing her English accent, but 10 lines of just speaking for herself. She's a non-entity in a movie that is supposed to be kind of about her.
Well, her character is asleep through most of it.
But that wasn't the case for Marla English in The She Creature.
No, they established more of a relationship between Lance Fuller and Marla English in that movie. And here, you don't really get that. And I guess that's a good thing for this film, because that's too complicated a story to tackle for this thing. This just wants to get the monster story out. The rest of the stuff doesn't matter. It's just there because you need something to fill up the rest of the time.
Well, I agree that the screenwriter, Enrique Touceda, Rick Touceda, Tony Houston, whatever name you know him by, is not up to the task. He's not the guy to write that movie. But it just makes me mad. And then she dies in the end, having never really existed as a person throughout the entire film. And so whatever talent she has is wasted by trying to act out this script. Hopefully we haven't given away our grades yet, but I feel like we're really leaning into what they might be. So why don't you make it official, Jeff, and tell us how you would rank Creature of Destruction using our AIP scale, where A is awesome, I is intermediate, and P is pathetic.
Well, I'd like to think that there's a really good movie hidden in here somewhere, but The She Creature was only a mediocre film, so I don't think that's the case. I would buy the soundtrack to it because I like that Scotty McKay songs.
Mm-hmm.
They're weird, and I like weird.
Here comes Batman.
And like the first film, if the character of Ted was just willing to forsake his reputation and go along with the scheme, he could have been wealthy. And I don't know if that would have kept Basso from killing people. I don't think either movie did a good job of explaining the motives of Basso or Dr. Lombardi in the original. We quoted Rob Craig's book on Larry Buchanan, and it's a really interesting read because he takes a critical approach to Buchanan's oeuvre.
Does he?
Well, critical in that he's applying auteur theory to the works of Larry Buchanan. And he seems to be reading a lot more into these films than I would tend to, or I would think most people would tend to. From Rob Craig's standpoint, Larry Buchanan seemed to really know what he was doing and did a lot of the things he did on purpose. And I tend to think that's probably not the case. I think that if he ever did anything good, it was luck. And this film, as I said, it's just like walking through mud. You feel like you're not getting anywhere. You feel sticky and you just want to go home. And this movie is a P. It's a pathetic movie in my eyes. What are your thoughts, Cheryl? Surprise me.
I can't surprise you. I've already told you everything I hated about this movie, off mic and on mic. But this movie just made the she creature worse. And I don't think that's what he meant to do. You said you didn't understand Basso's motives or Lombardi's motives in either movie. I think that his motives were pretty plain. I don't know why he wanted to kill people other than that he was evil. And it was another way to keep Andrea or Doreena attached to him. And that's what he really wanted. He really wanted this beautiful doll that he could play with, regardless of whether she had any interest in him or not. And in both cases, she didn't. So this movie is just one gross man abusing a woman and basically another gross but boring man trying to stop it for his own gain. In both movies, these men, both of these Teds, see a pretty face and they want to rescue the maiden. They don't really care about her as a person, though. They just want to get her away from the mad doctor so each one can have her for himself. So nobody's really the good guy here. And we never really get to know the character of Doreena, just like we didn't really get to know Andrea. They just exist as this ventriloquist dummy for the act of these hypnotists. But in this movie, it's far worse. Doreena has almost nothing to say. She has no personality. Her protests are feeble and ignored. When she's on stage, she just sits there lifeless. She hardly does anything. Only at one point does she speak in her English accent about her life as Marion Rhodes. But even when there's a prediction that this creature is going to do something, it's coming from the doctor. It's coming from Basso, no matter what he claims. She says nothing. So this is his thing. She's just a prop. And then she dies in the end, and then we're supposed to get some big meaning out of this. She let herself die to get rid of the creature. I don't know. It's just a stupid movie. Aron Kincaid plays Captain Ted with zero enthusiasm, zero emotion, no expression on his face. Actually, he's probably a perfect match for Doreena because she's pretty expressionless as well. But she's been hypnotized and he supposedly has free will. So there's no excuse. And this movie just looks cheap and cheesy and it has no internal logic whatsoever. I don't think I could hate this movie any more than I do. And like you, I'm going to give it a P for pathetic.
Well, for the record, I get Basso's motivation when it comes to Doreena. I don't get his or Lombardi's motivation when it comes to bringing the creature of destruction or the she creature or whatever into existence. I just don't see what he's getting out of it.
Well, I think, like I said, it ties Doreena or Andrea to him out of guilt. She knows that he can make her do that or her whatever. They never do explain what this creature is made from. Like, where does this creature come from?
Does she, though? Because she tells Ted in this movie that she doesn't remember what happens. She remembers Doctor saying goodnight and then being woken up. So I don't think she's aware that this is happening.
Maybe I'm reading too much into it, thinking about the she creature, because I think she feels guilty. Marla English's character, Andrea.
I'm not sure Andrea was aware either.
I think she was. I think she knew that's why she had to resist, just to keep people from getting killed. But this movie doesn't even touch on that.
Oh, there's a lot this movie doesn't touch on.
And one thing I hate about Rob Craig's analysis, he called this movie feminist. This was some triumph of feminist writing. It is not. I don't know how you could possibly see that in a movie where there are two characters that are women and none of them have personalities or entities. He said that because the monster kills mostly men, that was evidence of this being a feminist piece of work. But the monster killed 2 women for no reason, in addition to the 5 men. So that's not really evidence that the creature is taking its animus out on men exclusively. It's just whoever happens to be there. The only one I think that was exclusively targeted was Sam Crane. And that was because Basso didn't like him, not because of anything that Doreena felt.
Well, to find out more about Creature of Destruction and the other Azalea pictures Larry Buchanan directed for American International Television, set your sights on AIPpod.com, our archive of AIP goodness. It's a great place to listen to the podcast, and while you're doing so, you can browse through posters, lobby cards, trailers, and more for each of the films we've covered. There's a list of films we still hope to track down to cover on future episodes, so if you have a line on any of them, you can use the contact form to let us know about it, or you can just use it to let us know what a great job we're doing. Or even better, wherever you're listening right now, leaving a review will help us to make the podcast more accessible to other interested listeners. So head on over to AIPpod.com now and check it out.
And with that, we are turning off our television sets and returning to the theaters. Next week, we'll review another theatrical release from AIP. For the American International Podcast, I'm Cheryl Lightfoot.
And I'm Jeff Markin.
And we'll meet you at the drive-in.
Follow the American International Podcast on Instagram and Letterboxd at AIP_pod and on Facebook at facebook.com/American International Podcast.
The American International Podcast is produced and edited by Jeff Markin.
A man whose mind is distorted by hatred.
And Cheryl Lightfoot.
A girl hungry for too many things.
The American International Podcast is part of the Pop Culture Entertainment Network.